The search for extraterrestrial intelligence and why it's pointless. The American authorities, and I believe other authorities around the world, would rather spend a load of money searching for beings in outer space than actually looking after their own within their own space. I mean, no wonder they haven't found anything yet. You know, it's extremely naive to assume that everything in the entire universe is 3D first and foremost, so you're going to have trouble with that. If there is another 3D entity apart from human beings that is intelligent out there, we would have known by now. And in fact, we don't need to make ourselves known to them, for they would make themselves known to us. I won't tell you the reasons why. I have had contact, by the way, not in my waking state, but vivid enough to know. I was talking about economics and the fact that we all need to commit economical suicide in order to expand our consciousness, because the status quo would have you believe that by going against the economic grain, you are committing suicide. So fine, let's call bluff, because we all know that the status quo is not our friend. And of course, any intelligent being that is not human, from another planet, from another solar system, would definitely know our current situation on Earth. They talk about the Illuminati, FBI agents working with reptilians, working with greys, etc., etc., etc. There's metaphysics everywhere. So of course you do have spiritual leaders and people you don't even know about who advise governments and authorities in regards to the future through oracles or anything to do with hocus pocus or whatever. That's fine. And of course, they know, these beings and those human beings at the top of the scale, they very well know that it is a waste of money. If they don't, there's something wrong there. But going back to dimensions, we're in the third dimension. L. Ron Hubbard, who was the founder of Scientology, said something very interesting about our planets in our own solar system, and the fact that when we have traversed there, be it by man or by camera, robots, there is no evidence of any life, but there is mass, the 3D. If we were to assume that the whole universe is 3D, which maths proves is not the case, but for argument's sake, if we were to assume the whole universe is 3D, then maybe we are the only ones here. Maybe everybody else has expanded and has elevated themselves above the third dimension. Maybe they're no longer matter. They are thoughts. They are light. They are ethers. They are not physical like us. And yet we're searching far and wide for them. So what I would advise you authorities up there who like to believe and like people to believe that there is a limit to what we have on this land, on this mass called Earth. What I would advise to you is, if you want to be successful in your quest for finding extraterrestrial intelligence, first of all, deal with your own. Deal with your own intelligence. Look at the amount of people on this earth who live in poverty. Even in the West, that's the so-called first world, whatever BS that means. Look at it. How on earth do you think beings who are intelligent or more intelligent than us would want to commune with such beings who don't even look after their own house? These are the questions that these so-called intelligent people who run our authority should be questioning themselves about when thinking of running such projects. I read that they've launched a super telescope, the biggest in the world, this SETI people. And I just think, well, if there are intelligent beings out there who are in 3D or above, you're not going to find them with a telescope. You're going to find them with your karma. I said to you that they come to you, you don't go to them. And they don't come to anyone that is not ready. And if the collective, i.e. the earth, is not ready, they will not come. You may see some ships flying around. You may see, sort of teasers. There's a reason why you're getting teased. It's because there is other things out there. We are a hint, aren't we? I remember many years ago, an old friend of mine laughed at me when I told him that extraterrestrials are real. He couldn't actually believe that because he exists, nothing else, he couldn't believe that because he exists, something else exists. It's just us because the Bible says so, even though it doesn't. But yeah, that was his position, and he actually found it crazy if anyone thought anything else. I feel sorry for him. I appreciate that. And there are many others out there, but I always say to people who are naysayers of all this talk about extraterrestrials and whatever you call them, angels, remember, angels are extraterrestrial. I always say to people, look at ourselves and what we do on this earth, and the fact that we have action on this landmass where there is seemingly no action on other land masses close to us. We are a hint, aren't we? So it would actually go against human logic. Forget the spirit. It will go against human logic to not believe there are other beings out there. But yeah, L. Ron Hubbard, he mentioned that, you see, other planets have action, but it's in another dimension. So if we were to go there as 3D beings and land there with our 3D ships, all we would see is the 3D, the grain, the rock. We wouldn't see anything that's above 3D. We would only see 3D and less, which we see with our carnal eyes. So I don't know what they're playing at, to be honest with you, spending all that money that they could be spending feeding and clothing people. I don't know. I really don't know. It's like the whole world is upside down. You have people spending a whole load of money on things like research, on things like finding aliens, sending this man and that woman to the moon and to Mars and blah, blah, blah. And you just think, well, what about here? What about us here? And do you really think beings from another solar system, being so sophisticated and aware of us, would want to function with people who don't look after their own? You all need to read some esoterica. You'll learn some stuff about treating your own. The Galactic Federation, if anyone has ever heard of that term, they don't want to know you if you're not Zen. By Zen, I simply mean caring after others as you would care after yourself. So SETI, please, hold your horses, look after this planet, divert that money you're spending on these telescopes and all this data and all these things you're trying to catch, and just focus on the earth. Make it a better place so that it can ascend itself, and then it will be aware of our family. That's it. It's so simple. It is so simple. In order to expand and experience things you want to experience in 3D, you actually need to transcend your 3D thinking, i.e. spending a whole load of money on a sports car or on a rocket ship instead of spending it to build a house for someone who is homeless. Oh, but I'm crazy for thinking that, aren't I?